taking a trip to Prop City quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and tight ends. Shayla, let's start with the quarterback position. We got a couple of guys who can really fill the stat sheet both through the air and on the ground. I'm going to get us started. My favorite quarterback prop for the Super Bowl. I'm going to take Patrick Mahomes under 0.5 interceptions. This guy does not throw a lot of picks. He has an 8-game streak right now without an interception, and he really protects the ball when it comes to the playoffs. 1 interception in his last 9 playoff games. And you take a look at that 8-game streak going back to the regular season. He's throwing the ball a lot into the high 30s and 40s in a big chunk of these games. Ball security is at the utmost of importance for the Kansas City Chiefs. Often you look at the stats at the end of a game and you'll see the other team might have had more yards. It looks like they outplayed them. The Chiefs don't do stupid things. They don't turn over the football. So I'm going to keep the streak going for Mahomes under half an interception. What do you got in the quarterback market?
All right, well, I've got not 1, not 2, but 3 Jalen Hurts props that I have here. So my first bet, one of my first bets of Super Bowl was his over on rushing yards. You can get that now at Caesars. It's over 36.5 yards right now. It did come down. It was as high as 40.5, so there has been some buyback. But this is the healthiest that we're going to see Jalen Hurts in a very, very long time. No concussion, no knee issue, 2 weeks to heal up. This is a guy who ran for 70 yards against this Kansas City Chiefs defense 2 years ago. And I think he's going to feel a lot of pressure from that Spagnuolo defense that loves to bring pressure from everywhere. And Jalen can make some plays with his legs. On that one, I do like him, of course, to score a touchdown anytime. It's at -115. This almost seems like free money to me, the way that they get to that goal line.
I agree.
And that the tush push, the way that just the success rate at that goal line.
It's a good number, too.
And -115 is not bad for something that, if that situation happens, and you know what's going to happen, you know who's getting the ball. And it's Jalen Hurts. It's going to get a couple cracks at it. So I like him to score a touchdown anytime. I did, though, in the same realm as interceptions, I did take him to throw an interception over half an INT. It's +130, a nice little payout here. Jalen takes care of the football. He's only had 5 interceptions all year. But the one thing about this Kansas City defense is they love to bring the heat. 5th highest pressure rate in the league. We look at Jalen Hurts, a top 10 quarterback, when he's kept clean. Under pressure, he is the 58th ranked quarterback at PFF. I didn't know there was even 58 quarterbacks that threw a pass this year, Joe.
Damn.
His completion percentage tanks down to 44%. There's going to be a situation in this game where Jalen Hurts has to make a play through the air, and Spags in the secondary are going to be waiting on it, so I like him to throw an INT at Super Bowl 59, +130 payout.
Okay, baby. Let's talk running backs now. On one side, you have probably the hottest player in all of football, regardless of position, Saquon Barkley. On the other side, a little underwhelming, a little confusing with the Kansas City Chiefs backfield. Maybe.
Committee?
So here's how I'm going to attack this. I want to back Saquon Barkley, but you got to find a creative way to do it. I'm going to take him to have over 22.5 carries. You want to lean on your biggest players in the biggest games, and it doesn't get any bigger than the Super Bowl. Now, he's gone over this in 4 of his last 5 games. The game where he didn't go over was in the NFC title game against the Commanders, and it was for a good reason. The game got completely out of hand, so they weren't going to run him into the ground. If you go back to the regular season, games against good teams, games that were tight, he typically did go over this number. And something I do want to point out, the Kansas City Chiefs defense absolutely stinks on 3rd down. I think that might be surprising to a lot of people, but they were one of the worst defenses on 3rd down during the regular season. So I think this is going to open things up for the Eagles to be able to extend drives. They're going to want to be running the ball on 1st down, on 2nd down. So they're going to want to feed Saquon Barkley. That is my favorite running back prop. What are you looking at?
Yeah, you definitely want to get the ball in the hands of your best player, and that's kind of where my mind is as well. But I'm not going on the ground. We're going through the air. I'm going with Saquon over 13.5 receiving yards. You find that here at Caesars. People forget how good a pass-catching back Saquon Barkley is because he really hasn't had to be that dynamic dual-threat back. But, again, a situation where there's going to be pressure on Jalen Hurts. He's a perfect check-down option as well. And Spags has had success shutting down running backs in the playoffs. Okay? If they can bottle up Saquon, the Eagles have to find a way to give him the ball. I did bet over 12.5 in the NFC Championship game. Didn't quite get there. Going back to the well here, over 13.5. Could strike it in basically one catch and run, right? So that's what I like in that one. As far as an under bet for Saquon, I do like his under 1st quarter rushing yards. It's at 27.5. It's a market that's puffed up because of what we've seen from him early in the playoffs.
The first run versus the Commanders.
That's a 60-yard run. He had a 62-yard run, I believe, against the Rams. He had 41 rushing yards in the first quarter against the Packers. But outside of those big plays, and then the Packers, you got to remember, they muffed that opening kickoff, went 3 and out. A lot of extra touches for the Eagles in those first 15 minutes. That's inflated these numbers. And we've seen his rushing props just go through the roof. I say nay. I buy back here. This is going to be the first quarter, a little bit of feeling out period.
Yeah.
Okay. Eagles going to want to dictate, going to want a long, extended drive, keep Mahomes on the sideline. But when Mahomes gets out there, kind of Kansas City's going to do the same thing. That first scripted play, you know it's going to be on point. So Kansas City is also going to control the football as well, too. I don't know if we see too many fireworks early on in this game, so I'm going to take the under 27.5. His average was less than 25. My projection was at 22 rushing yards for this first quarter. So
sneaky little spot.
I'm looking at like 20 to 22 rushing yards from him. That's 7 yards of headroom there for the under.
Sneaky spot.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk wide receivers and tight ends, and let's talk Dallas Goedert over 53.5 receiving yards. This guy has been super reliable in the playoffs here so far. An average of 62.6 yards per game in the 3 playoff games and 5 catches. Coming off a game, I think he might be Jalen Hurts' favorite target here in the playoffs. He had 8 targets in the NFC Championship game. And perhaps the reason I like this bet the most, this has been a spot I've been targeting all season. Tight ends going up against this Kansas City Chiefs defense.
Yep.
This is a major weakness of theirs. They allowed the most yards in the regular season to the tight end position, an average of right around 70 per game. And J-Lo, maybe it's nothing, but it doesn't hurt. He had the best game of his career in New Orleans earlier this season. He went off for 170
Loves
yards.
that Superdome.
The number here at 53.5. Absolutely love the over. What do you like for wide receivers,
Soft
tight
spot
ends?
between the hash marks there for Kansas City. I'm going to go to the Eagles as well, too, and I'm going to go Devonta Smith on his over on longest reception. It's at 20.5 at Caesars. This guy is a deep threat. Okay, he's had one against them in the Super Bowl 2 years ago for 45. He's taking on a defense right now, 9th in terms of passes of 20 plus, 5th in terms of 40 plus. So we have seen Kansas City give up some home run balls, and Smith comes with it in the fourth quarter. He has been the biggest player for this team in crunch time. So I expect him to at least hit one big dinger. I like his over 20.5.